as soon as it is disturbing. Huh? So, because they are very important verses. So, Sumaji can help me in reading if it is breaking too much. अद्वेष्टा सर्वभूतानां मैत्रः करुण एव च निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः समदुःखसुखक्षमी. The one who has no hatred for all beings, who has the disposition of a friend, who is compassionate, free from possessiveness, free from I notion, equal in pleasant and unpleasant circumstances, and indeed one who is naturally accommodative. These verses from here till the last, but one in the chapter, talk about the person who is a sannyasi, a jnani, even though later he says that devotee is beloved to me, sa bhaktah me priyah. He is not talking about the devotee that we commonly understand, the one who makes a division between himself and Ishvara due to ignorance. If a devotee had this notion of difference between Jiva and Ishvara, he would not have the qualifications mentioned in this verse. These are attributes only of a person who is a kritakritya, who has, please remember this word, so beautiful, kritakritya, who has found fulfillment through knowing that by nature he is free from any limitation. Because of that knowledge, he is spontaneously free from hatred, dvesha, etc. So these qualifications are meant to describe a wise man, not a devotee or a karma yogi, but they are told with the seeker in view. If you want to be free from hatred, well, that happens to be the nature of Atma. If there is no doubt or vagueness that the nature of Atma is fullness, Ananda, the expression in interacting with the world, will be based in that Ananda and will express as love, the one basic emotion that modifies into compassion, friendliness, etc., as the situation requires. These are all expressions of one Ananda. Though these qualities describe a wise man, they are not meant to judge whether a person is wise or not. They are purely a description of those values and attitudes that a seeker should cultivate. Adveshta sarva bhutanam. Adveshta sarva bhutanam, the one who is free from hatred. Adveshta, towards all beings. Sarva bhutanam. This is one of the most important qualifications of a sannyasi. Shankara says, even though a person may cause him some pain, the jnani does not entertain any hatred or ill will towards the person. For him, this is very natural because he sees all creatures as himself. Though this is an expression in keeping with the Shastra, psychologically speaking, this is how it works. Hatred arises only when someone can make you unhappy. If someone cheats you and you feel cheated, naturally you will hate the person. You have been deceived and feel outraged. If you depend upon the world, you will definitely divide the world into objects of raga and dvesha. An object which you think makes you unhappy, you will naturally hate. But if you have inner freedom concerning your dependence upon the world for your fullness, your vision is purely objective and love is your natural expression. You have no resistance to a person being as he or she is. You may not be able to change them, even though you know a change would have changed the entire society. Even a wise man may have many people around him, some of them his own disciples, whom he cannot totally change. That is because it is very difficult for people to change. They will praise the wise man, attributing all that is good to him and not to themselves. And all the time, the teacher is saying, "You are everything." But if you project all that is good onto someone else, you can continue to be as you are. And that is easier than changing because change is very painful. Then again, if you do not change, it is also painful. So we pray to invoke the grace for the necessary changes to take place. The commitment to change expressed in that prayer will take care of it. If you say a wise man does not hate, it is not a sanction for the ignorant to hate. The point is, no person has a reason to hate another in as much as a person is what he is because he cannot be otherwise. If he could, he would certainly change. Behavior that causes pain to others also causes pain to the one who inflicts it. Naturally, a person would want to change such behavior. The fact that he does not shows very clearly that he cannot. It is foolish to want the world to be entirely according to our wishes, even though they may seem valid. The changes you may wish for a person may definitely be good for him and those who relate to him. The problem is the person may not share your values, and even if he does, changing to conform to them is not a simple matter of will. Certain things where an action is involved, you can change by your will. You can decide to walk a mile a day and then do it. You can always force yourself to do an action. But inner change is a different matter. Will only confuses the issue here. Commitment to change is fine, but by simply willing, one does not change. It is something like somebody asking you to love him. You cannot do anything about it. It is something that has to happen. Only by prayer can people hope to change. So beautiful. If you can understand that a person behaves as he does because he cannot help it, and if you see yourself from that person's point of view, you will find that you have to change. We always think that the other person should change. Well, he is equally free to think that you should change. If you analyze it, you find that you have no right to will others to change. The maximum you can do is to change yourself. Then, if you really let others be what they are, you find there is no hatred. Hatred comes, as I said in the beginning, only when somebody makes you unhappy. The truth is, nobody makes you unhappy. This is such a revolutionary explanation by Swamiji. As we
Can you
said,
repeat the whole thing, Bella, once
yeah,
from the beginning? Because I
yes,
think this is like giving us a roadmap of how
yes,
how we practice this Adveshta.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. The one who has no hatred for all beings, who has the disposition of a friend, who is compassionate, free from possessiveness, free from I notion, equal in pleasant and unpleasant circumstances, and indeed one who is naturally accommodative. These verses from here till the last, but one in the chapter, talk about the person who is a sannyasi, a gnani. Even though later he says that that devotee is beloved to me, sa bhaktah me priyah. He is not talking about the devotee that we commonly understand, the one who makes a division between himself and Ishvara due to ignorance. If a devotee had this notion of difference between Jiva and Ishvara, he would not have the qualifications mentioned in this verse. These are attributes only of a person who is a Krita Kritya, who has found fulfillment through knowing that by nature he is free from any limitation. Because of that knowledge, he is spontaneously free from hatred, dvesha, etc. So, these qualifications are meant to describe a wise man, not a devotee or a karma yogi. But they are told with the seeker in view. If you want to be free from hatred, well, that happens to be the nature of Atma. If there is no doubt or vagueness that the nature of Atma is fullness, Ananda, the expression in interacting with the world will be based in that Ananda and will express as love, the one basic emotion that modifies into compassion, friendliness, etc., as the situation requires. These are all expressions of one Ananda. Though these qualities describe a wise man, they are not meant to judge whether a person is wise or not. They are purely a description of those values and attitudes that a seeker should cultivate. So that I hope that you are able to recall those values and attitudes where you know that it is the Swamiji here is talking about sannyasi and gnani, but still as a karma yogi, as a jignasu, as a mumukshu, we have to cultivate those values and attitudes which help us to get rid of the clutches of raga and dvesha from us and try to have those love, compassion, and friendliness for the whole creation. Adveshta Sarva Bhutana. Adveshta Sarva Bhutana, the one who is free from hatred. Adveshta, towards all beings. Sarva Bhutana. This is one of the most important qualifications of a sannyasi. Shankara says, even though a person may cause him some pain, the gnani does not entertain any hatred or ill will towards the person. For him, this is very natural because he sees all creatures as himself. Though this is an expression in keeping with the Shastra, psychologically speaking, this is how it works. Hatred arises only when someone can make you unhappy. If someone cheats you and you feel cheated, naturally you will hate the person. You have been deceived and feel outraged. There is a continuous notification of voice breaking. Please let me know if it is disturbing too much. I repeat, hatred arises only when someone can make you unhappy. If someone cheats you and you feel cheated, naturally you will hate the person. You have been deceived and feel outraged. If you depend upon the world, you will definitely divide the world into objects of raga and dvesha. Okay, fine. Dhanyavad. An object which you think makes you unhappy, you will naturally hate. But if you have inner freedom concerning your dependence upon the world for your fullness, your vision is purely objective and love is your natural expression. You have no resistance to a person being as he or she is. You may not be able to change them, even though you know a change would have changed the entire society. Even a wise man may have many people around him, some of them his own disciples, whom he cannot totally change. That is because it is very difficult for people to change. They will praise the wise man, attributing all that is good to him and not to themselves. And all the time, the teacher is saying, you are everything. But if you project all that is good onto someone else, you can continue to be as you are. And that is easier than changing because change is very painful. Bhagwan is so, I think he's the greatest counselor, the way he's knowing our mind. Then again, if you do not change, it is also painful. So we pray to invoke the grace for the necessary changes to take place. The commitment to change expressed in that prayer will take care of it. I repeat, very important, as Brahmaraji said, it's a roadmap. Then again, if you do not change, it is also painful. So we pray to invoke the grace for the necessary changes to take place. The commitment to change expressed in that prayer will take care of it. If you say a wise person does not hate, it is not a sanction for the ignorant to hate. The point is, no person has a reason to hate another in as much as a person is what he is, because he cannot be otherwise. He could, he would definitely, he could, I'm sorry, if he could, he would certainly change. Behavior that causes pain to others also causes pain to the one who inflicts it. Please remember, behavior that causes pain to others also causes pain to the one who inflicts it. Naturally, a person would want to change such behavior. The fact that he does not shows very clearly that he cannot. It is foolish to want the world to be entirely according to our wishes, even though they may seem valid. The changes you may wish for a person may definitely be good for him and those who relate to him. The problem is the person may not share your values, and even if he does, changing to conform to them is not a simple matter of will. Certain things where an action is involved, you can change by will. You can decide to walk a mile a day and then do it. You can always force yourself to do an action. But inner change is a different matter. Will only confuses the issue here. Commitment to change is fine, but by simply willing, one does not change. It is something like somebody asking you to love him. You cannot do anything about it. It is something that has to happen. Only by prayer can people hope to change. So beautifully, Swamiji has explained the importance of prayer. If you can understand that a person behaves as he does because he cannot help it, and if you see yourself from that person's point of view, you will find that you have to change. We always think that the other person should change. Well, he is equally free to think that you should change. If you analyze it, you find that you have no right to will others to change. The maximum you can do is to change yourself. Then, if you really let others be what they are, you find that there is no hatred. Hatred comes, as I said in the beginning, only when somebody makes you unhappy. The truth is, nobody makes you unhappy. This is so beautiful. Please try to recall the important trait which Swamiji had said, Kshanti. The Kshanti word in the previous chapter, Swamiji had already explained, it was accommodativeness with others in whatever situation you are in. To accept one as he or she is, to accept the situation as it is. So that again brings us back to our basic happiness course point. And the prayer can help. The problem comes from internalizing the behavior of others. If somebody does or says something disagreeable to you, you get angry. But if somebody complains to you of a headache, you do not get angry. And yet it is the same situation when an emotional problem causes certain types of behavior. The problem belongs to the person. You are responsible for your own actions and emotions, not those of others. I repeat, the problem belongs to the person. You are responsible for your own actions and emotions, not those of others. Only if you could control things could you be totally responsible for them. And since you have no control over your own emotion, where is the question of assuming responsibility for others' actions? I repeat, you are responsible for your own actions and emotions, not those of others. Only if you could control things could you be totally responsible for them. And since you have no control over your own emotion, where is the question of assuming responsibility of others' actions? If you have done something intentionally or unintentionally, you can own it up and make amends. When you are honest about your feelings, that is the beginning of change. You can make amends for your omissions and commissions. But what about those of others? How are you responsible for them? Yet, someone else's omissions and commissions seem to affect you to a great extent emotionally because you at once internalize it. I repeat, yet someone else's omissions and commissions seem to affect you to a great extent emotionally because you at once internalize it. Certain behavior or words trigger old patterns of thinking, like self-criticism stemming from your background. If you analyze it properly, hatred is meaningless for any person. Leave alone for a wise man. Hatred and anger, etc., arise from a desire to control. Many people have tried to save the world, but in the end, they are destroyed, often by some microscopic creatures. The only change you can hope to bring about is a change in yourself. And because you are free, you can change, as can others, if they want to. Everyone is a potential saint because saintliness is an expression of the nature of yourself. I repeat, everyone is a potential saint because saintliness is an expression of the nature of yourself. If you see this, you will find you have no problem of control or ill will. You have freedom and nothing to quarrel about, only pragmatism. What is possible, you do. What is not possible, you just accept. So as Brahmaraji always say, kartum shakyam, akartum shakyam, anyathava kartum shakyam. Whatever is possible, you do. And if you cannot do it differently. A person, if you want me to repeat, please let me know. A person who understands this does not have even a small degree of hatred or anger for any living being. Adveshta sarva bhutana. Seeing himself as all, he is a free person whom nothing can hurt. Unlike the ignorant, he does not helplessly set up situations where he will be hurt, but sees that all situations are shining after him. This fact is very real to him, making him naturally free from ill will towards all beings. Adveshta sarva bhutana. You cannot hate unless you get hurt, and you cannot get hurt unless someone can objectify you. Once you objectify something, you can do anything to it, including hurting it. But Atma cannot be objectified. Who can objectify the consciousness in which everything else shines as an object? A hurtful action is simply a karma which shines after you, who is a sangha. How does consciousness get affected? Actions therefore remain simply actions, and your responses are pragmatic. I repeat this whole paragraph, it is so profound. Please pay attention. A person who understands this does not have even a small degree of hatred or anger for any living being. Adveshta sarva bhutana. Seeing himself as all, he is a free person whom nothing can hurt. Unlike the ignorant, he does not helplessly set up situations where he will be hurt, but sees that all situations are shining after him. This fact is very real to him, making him naturally free from ill will towards all beings. Adveshta sarva bhutana. You cannot hate.
Can you repeat that sentence one more time? That he does not set up situations, that sentence?
Yeah. Okay. Unlike the ignorant, he does not helplessly set up situations where he will be hurt, but sees that all situations are shining after him. This fact is very real to him, making him naturally free from ill will towards all beings. Adveshta sarva bhutanam. You cannot hate unless you get hurt, and you cannot get hurt unless someone can objectify you. Once you objectify something, you cannot do anything to it, including hurting it. But Atma cannot be objectified. Who can objectify the consciousness in which everything else shines as an object? A hurtful action is simply a karma which shines after you, who is a sangha. How does consciousness get affected? Actions, therefore, remain simply actions, and your responses are pragmatic. Brahmaraji, may I request you to explain this? Or you want me to read little bit and then you explain? Kindly explain. It is so important and very beautiful paragraph.
Yeah, actually, if you can go back to that thing about objectifying, can you just go there? That was not very clear.
You mean in this paragraph only?
Yeah, in this paragraph, Swamiji talks of objectifying, right? Can you just read those sentences again?
Yeah, sure. A person who understands this, I repeat as there is a breaking of voice. A person who understands this does not have even a small degree of hatred or anger for any living being, adveshta sarva bhutana. See himself as all. He is a free person whom nothing can hurt. Unlike the ignorant, he does not helplessly set up situations where he will be hurt, but sees that all situations are shining after him. This fact is very real to him, making him naturally free from ill will towards all beings, adveshta sarva bhutana. You cannot hate unless you get hurt, and you cannot get hurt unless someone can objectify you. Once you objectify something, you can do anything to it, including hurting it. But Atma cannot be objectified. Who can objectify the consciousness in which everything else shines as an object? A hurtful action is simply a karma which shines after you, who is a sangha. How does consciousness get affected? Actions, therefore, remain simply actions, and your responses are pragmatic. I think when you, my little understanding says that when you have the Dvaita Bhavana, when you separate the other person as other, that is, you are objectifying him as separate from yourself, who cannot be objectified otherwise.
That is very true. That is one thing. And the other one, the very fact that nobody can make you unhappy because you yourself are Ananda. That is where the Jnani is coming from. He is coming from that fullness. So there's nobody who can make him unhappy. Only if someone makes you unhappy can you be, have hatred towards the person who makes you unhappy. So both are there. One is that your fullness, you see yourself in everyone. So there is no way you can be unhappy, or there is no way others can make you unhappy because you are fullness yourself. That is one aspect. And the aspect of objectifying is very rightly what you pointed out, that if there are no two, if you're objectifying someone, you can do anything with them. You can be happy, unhappy, hateful, all of that, all the emotions can come up. But if there is no other, when Atma cannot be objectified, it is in the Atma, in the consciousness, everything is happening. So every action is only a karma that is in in this ocean of consciousness, which is Atma. Just like for me, what came to my mind was like the ocean is unaffected by the waves that arise from it. Similarly, in this ocean of consciousness, that is Atma, any action that happens, whether it's hateful, unhateful, whatever the action, it only remains as a wave. It's inconsequential to the ocean itself. Similarly, a jnani is not affected, and whatever action that others do or situations that come around him, his response to it will be that of fullness. He is not shaken by that. He's like that's the prajna, complete acceptance.
It is like that. You don't have to show the reactions. The how you react is deciding whether you will be happy or you will be sad. The reactions we give to situations and people, that is where we have to check.
Yeah, and that actually brings us back to the introduction to Gita where we read, where we come from. Where are we coming from? Are we coming from the space of lack? Are we coming from the space of insecurity? Or are you coming from the space of maturity, of being full, self-sufficient? A jnani versus an ignorant person comes from the space of being full himself. He does not depend on anything for his happiness. The moment we depend on the world and people around it for our happiness, we want XYZ to be the way we want them to be. Or we want situations to be like we want the situations to be. Then we'll be happy. It's all conditional. Whereas a person who is a jnani is coming from the space of unconditional acceptance of people and things around him. Because he's secure himself, he's full. With or without, he's full. But for ajnanis, if this happens, then I will be happy. So therefore, that doesn't happen, and that person or situation makes you feel unhappy, then it becomes a matter of hate. So raga dvesha basically is stemming from the concept that we are insecure, we are insufficient, and we need the world and people around to fulfill our need. When you negate that, when you come from this wisdom that you are full, then automatically those raga dveshas will settle down, will slowly start settling down.
Yeah, so beautiful. Dhanyavad, Brahmaraji. So happy to hear from you. Very beautiful. So with that feeling of abundance, we move ahead. I love this. Please remember this sentence. Everyone is a potential saint because saintliness is an expression of the nature of yourself. Please remember this sentence. Such a person, anyone wants to share before we proceed? Okay. Such a person will naturally have the disposition of friendliness. He is called Maitra. Why does he put in the abstract sense rather than saying a friend, Mitra? Anyone can be a friend, even a pet. He makes an abstract noun out of Mitra, which means the state of being a friend. Mitrasya bhavaha maitri, friendliness. One who has maitri, friendliness, is called maitraha. He bears no ill will towards anyone, yet he is not aloof. He is friendly. Aloofness is an indication of anger or fear of facing people. It is an obstruction to growth because we can only perfect ourselves in the midst of people. Removing yourself from people will only aggravate the problem in the midst of people, because you require various kinds of interactions to invoke every aspect of your personality. Only then will you understand yourself. The Jnani is not only friendly towards people, he is not afraid, as he will tell later. He knows that Atma is Ananda, and when that fullness gets related, it becomes various emotions. Friendliness is one of them. Please remember, in just the previous paragraph, Swamiji said Asanga, but here very beautifully he has said the friendliness bhava, Maitri, that we need to be midst of the people, because we can polish our own personality, we can polish every aspect of our self. To understand ourselves better, we need to be amidst the people. Jnani has friendship and compassion. Karuna, Karunah is the one who has compassion. He cannot condone others' omissions and commissions. The same Ananda that expresses as love or friendliness takes the form of sympathy for those who are in pain. Shankara adds that he is one who gives refuge to all a sannyasi. With the sun, the guru, and all the elements as witnesses, a sannyasi openly declares to all beings, do not be afraid, ma bhaista. He will not be the cause of fear for anyone, because he does not covet any of their wealth or position. Not even a plant or animal need be afraid of him anymore. He gives abhaya to all beings. If he does not have karuna, how is he going to teach anybody? In the vision of a teacher who really knows what he is talking about, you are Satchidananda and have no problem. He has no problem, and neither does anyone else in his vision. If the pain of another does not move him, how is he going to see a necessity to teach? How is he going to help his shishyas in getting relief of their pain? Ananda, which is so natural to him, transforms into sympathy. He is not oblivious to people's behavior. In fact, he is much more sensitive than others, but his response is one of compassion. In a wise man, it is absolute. It is not that because he is Ananda and sees no problem, he has no emotions and therefore does not teach. If that were so, the tradition of teaching would come to a standstill. Teaching would be done by those who do not know what they are talking about, and those who know would not teach. When the Shishya says, "Oh Guru, please teach me, I am in pain," the Guru does not say, "You are Satchidananda, you have no problem." Nor does he become so identified with the sorrow of a samsari that he becomes sorrowful. This is another erroneous notion. If anyone says such a thing of a Mahatma, he is not praising him, but belittling him. The Lord is also represented as one who is all compassion. In his essential form, You can look upon him as Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma, or you can regard him as an ocean of compassion, etc. It is the same for a wise man. He has spontaneous friendliness and affection towards people because he has no ill will or hatred. He always wants to do something good for people. Helping becomes very natural. This compassion is greater than that of even a religious person. He may use a certain plant in a ritual, but a sannyasi could never cut that plant. Nobody will be afraid of a jnani because he is absolutely harmless. He does not demand anything from society, and more than that, gives abhaya to all. He tells Indra and other devas and even the trees hereafter, do not be afraid of me. To reach that point, he must be mature. Then, if he has jnana, it will prevail, whatever happens. Because of that abhaya, he is fearless, like an innocent child. This is one of the two expressions often used to describe a wise man. The other is a madman, unmattah, unmatta. The similarity is that he is happy for no reason at all. At least from our standpoint, there is no reason. But his happiness does not arise from any situation. It is his nature, Swarupa Ananda. And like a child, he is free from raga dveshas. Just as we are not afraid of a child, likewise, we are not afraid of a wise man, one who considers sukha and dukkha as equal, one who can forgive. The jnani then is one who has no hatred towards any being, but who, on the other hand, has friendliness and total compassion. All these are not simply attitudes and values, sadhanas, but rather because of the context, they are characteristics, lakshanas. In the next chapter, certain sadhanas like amanitva, adambhitva, ahimsa are given as means for gaining knowledge, jnana sadhanas, and therefore to be cultivated. But they are the expressions of a wise man who knows that the nature of the self is freedom, fullness. When he interacts with the world, he expresses himself as Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam, etc. So beautiful. If you want me to repeat any paragraph, because this is very, very important, as Brahmaraji told, it is like our road map. Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam. He does, please recall that story of a sannyasi who kept on rescuing the scorpion in spite of his biting every time. As his response was, to bite is his nature, and to rescue or to save him is my nature. Jnani has no ahankara and mamakara. Nirmamaha, one who is free from the sense of mine, the sense that something belongs to him. This notion can remain even if one gives up all possessions. even if one is a sannyasi. He may not have any real estate or a bank account, but he can still have the sense of my body, my mala, my kamandalu. This sense of ownership, mamatva, goes only when ahankara, which expresses as I am this much alone, goes. May I request Sumaji to continue, please? Or Brahmaraji?
Yeah, I can read.
Yeah, kindly read. Dhanyavad. If, yeah. The screen is okay, right, Sumaji?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can read from Gnani has no ahankara.
Jnani has no ahankara and mamakara. Nirmamha, one who is free from the sense of mine, the sense that something belongs to him. This notion can remain even if one gives up all possessions, even if one is a sannyasi. He may not have any real estate or a bank account, but he can still have the sense of my body, my bala, my kamandalu. This sense of ownership, mamatva, goes only when ahankara, which expresses as I am this much alone, goes. As long as the sense of I is placed in the physical body, dehe atma buddhi, there is the notion of oneself as an isolated individual. Once that is there, the idea of mine, mama prayatyaya, is impossible to avoid. Mama pratyaya is impossible to avoid. You can give up as many things as you like, but his mama pratyaya will not totally go until the ahankara goes. What goes, in fact, is not the ahankara, but the notion of the reality of the ahankara. Once a person has jnana, there can be no notional ahankara because the notion stems from self-ignorance. Ahankara and mamakara support each other's existence. Unless you say, these things are mine, ahankara cannot really be sustained. Unless you say, these things are mine, ahankara cannot be really sustained. Okay. But even relatively speaking, there is nothing one can claim to own if you analyze it. A mature person looks upon everything as belonging to Ishvara. He finds himself endowed with a few things towards. Can you raise the page, please? Can raise a few things towards which he has the attitude of a trustee. I'll read the sentence again. He finds himself endowed with a few things towards which he feels the attitude of a trustee and does not suffer from the inflated notion that he has accomplished everything he has, a notion rooted in ignorance. This is a person who, through viveka, has gained maturity and is relatively free from a sense of insecurity. The fact that what will happen is well known to him, and thus he enjoys a certain relaxation and readiness to face things as they come. There is trust in himself, trust in Ishvara, and therefore a lot of inner freedom. That is a mature ahankara, but still not enlightened. A kind of mamakara remains, though not to the degree we generally see in people. He is a karma yogi, a bhakta. To raise the page. In the verse, however, the person talked about has no notion of I, aham pratyaya, as the body, etc. A notion which comes from self-ignorance. On inquiry, with the help of Shastra and the Guru, he has discovered himself to be free from being one physical body and sees that he is, in fact, everything. His vision is aham idam sarvam. I am all this, and therefore the individual I sense has gone. This can only be a jnani, not a bhakta, in the popular sense of the word, who is necessarily an ajnani because he makes a division between himself and the Ishvara he worships. I'll repeat this. On enquiry with the help of Shastra and the Guru, he has discovered himself to be free from being one physical body and sees that he is in fact everything. His vision is aham idam sarvam, I am all this, and therefore the individual I sense has gone. This can only be a jnani, not a bhakta, in the popular sense of the word, who is necessarily an ajnani, because he makes a division between himself and the Ishvara he worships. Okay. That does not mean that the jnani cannot be a bhakta. As we have seen, he is included in the 4 types of devotees. The artha, who worships only when he is in distress, the artharthi, who enlists Bhagavan's help to accomplish his various ends, the jignasu, who wants to know who is Bhagavan, and finally the jnani, who appreciates Ishvara as essentially non-separate from himself. He is, in fact, the only real bhakta because his bhakti is fulfilled. All the others are qualifying themselves to become a real bhakta. Qualifying themselves to become real bhaktas. Though they are all dear to Ishvara, the jnani, he says, is myself alone. Jnani tu atma eva. That is who is being discussed here. Jnani is equal in sukha and dukkha. Samadukka sukha. The one for whom the sukha and dukkha are equal. How can one be the same in sukha and dukkha when in order for there to be sukha or dukkha, the mind must undergo a modification? How can one be the same in sukha and dukkha? In order for there to be sukha and dukkha, the mind has to undergo a modification. If you are to have emotional pain, your mind cannot be the same as it was when it was peaceful. It must undergo a change. Similarly, you cannot experience sukha without mind undergoing a change. Yet it is said here that this person is equal in sukha and dukkha. It looks like a contradiction. In saying this, there seems to be an acceptance of sukha and dukkha for the jnani. If he has these, how can he be equal? They both imply a change with which one identifies to say of oneself, I am happy or I am sad. There can be no sukha dukkha without the sense I. without the eye sense. Perhaps then, when the mind has sukha or dukkha, the jnani just witnesses it as sakshi. But if he is a sakshi, his experience cannot be called sukha dukkha. There appears to be some difficulty here. We should understand that sukha dukkha means situations that generally cause sukha and dukkha, occasions that normally call for condolences or congratulations. If there is a death, we offer our condolences because as a society, we consider that death makes those who are left behind unhappy. Each society has commonly accepted situations that there are a cause for sorrow. Dukkha prapaka, dukkha prapaka, or rejoicing, sukha prapaka. When such situations occur, a person who is samadukka sukha is the same, neither getting elated or nor depressed, which is possible only when you do not depend upon situations in order to be happy. If you do, you are going to be emotionally unstable, elated when things are conducive for you, and dejected when they are not. This is not the case for the one whom they call Mama Samadukka Sukha. Samadukka Sukha. It is easy to say you should be equal to Sukha and Dukkha, but this is not a piece of advice. The point is that a person who is dependent upon situations for his well-being. Can you raise the page, please? Person who is dependent for his well-being will be subject to emotional ups and downs. And one who is not has discovered that the self is fullness, purna, which therefore cannot be improved upon and absolutely secure and timeless, being Satya Atma, knowing that the self is Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa, he is same, he is Samad Dukkha Sukha. In situations that cause dukkha, not conducive to his comfort, he does not become a dukkhi. It is not a question of merely enduring a difficult situation. Anybody can do that. What is different about a jnani is that he does not become a dukkhi. This is not a matter for behavior modification, but a fact to be understood and quietly recognized. Oh, very nice. So the situation is to be recognized, which takes inquiry. It is because of his jnana that he is equal, not because of his following a mandate. Mandates like be equal in conducive sukhakaraka and non-conducive dukhakaraka situations create conditioning and therefore a psychological pressure to which you eventually must succumb or lose your sanity.
Such
Therefore,
an important point that Swamiji has brought up here. It is not tolerating that. It is not like a mandate. It is coming out of jnana. It is coming out of recognizing, coming out of wisdom. Please go ahead. Then we'll complete this para and then maybe break for Manana. No?
yeah, mandates like, yeah, we read that. So therefore, even though such statements have relative truth, it is important to understand them properly. Mandates like this create an ideal from which people necessarily distance themselves. The ideal is, I should be like this, but in reality, I am not. And the greater the list of shoulds and should nots, the greater is a person's estrangement from himself. If finally one day you can drop these D ideals, you will discover that you are fine. You can have goals, that is different. But if you decide to achieve one goal today and tomorrow you choose another, it does not matter. If you want to accomplish something in 2 years, you plan for that. Can you raise the page, please? Tomorrow, where is that? If you want to accomplish something in 2 years, you can plan for that. But it is not an ideal. Tomorrow, in the wake of new knowledge, you might totally give up the pursuit or extend it for another 5 years. That readiness to reshuffle your ideas and objectively face challenges as they come is sanity. Being the same in the face of sukha and dukkha is not valid as an ideal because it is not possible when there is self-ignorance. But sukha dukkha situations can be faced with relative equanimity. That is yoga. Samatvam yoga uchyate. You take the results of actions as prasada, as we have seen, and thereby acquire a manageable mind, the mind of a yogi. But for a person who has knowledge, it is different. Knowledge makes him free from dependence on situations for his well-being, security, and happiness. It's very difficult to imagine what the mind of a jnani is. For me, at least, I'm not able to. Okay, you can read all this, but to know it as knowledge, I don't know how that works, how it happens. Maybe we have all had some glimpses at some time, but again, that is just the grace that worked at that moment. But to be established in this wisdom, I don't know what it is. We can start the Manana session now. Can discuss whatever you have gained today. Are you all there?
Yes, yes, we are very much.
Yes, we are there.
But very
Can someone
silent.
help help reading the shloka, please? Dr. Savitaji or someone can help reading the shlokas which we covered. Very important and very beautiful shloka. This one. Kindly read, and I think we covered only one verse today, right?
I'll chant the shloka.
Dhanyavad.
Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitrah karuna eva cha nirmamo nirahankaraha samadukha sukakshami. The one who has no hatred for all beings, who has the disposition of a friend, who is compassionate, free from possessiveness, free from I notion, equal in pleasant and unpleasant circumstances, and indeed one who is naturally accommodative. I think we're only at this shloka, isn't it? This is the one that we were doing today.
Yeah.
So Jnani's lakshanas are the sadhana tools for a sadhaka. This verse actually exemplifies that. It's giving all the virtues of a jnani, qualities of a jnani, the lakshanas of a jnani that are the virtues that we have to cultivate as sadhaks. And the first of them is Adveshta Sarvabhutana. I mean, I think each one of them is such a pearl. Maitri, Karuna, and Nirmama, Nirmamaham, where there is no I notion and no possessiveness. But again, there's a caution here that Swamiji mentions. We do not sit and judge people as so-called jnanis and say, okay, do they fit into this? That is not what this verse is meant for. This verse is meant to be like a beacon of light for sadhaks. Because a jnani can be in any form. He can be like an unmatta. He can be like a mad person even. So it depends. This is not for us to be in judgment of jnanis, but it is for us. These are like those guidelines for us to cultivate. The closer we are to knowledge, the more of this will start manifesting in our own life. And this again brings us back to the first opening process that we do in our happiness program. I belong to you. Such a profound sentence that we use. So when something belongs to you, you can't hate them. You can't hate him or her. So the Adveshta Sarvabhutanam starts from there. Please, let's all share.
Jai Gurudev. What we are reading, I am going through the practical part. You know, today is my husband's Dadi's Shraddh, and the person who cooks food, he was told that you have to come early, and my husband had to go to Greater Noida for some purpose. So he had to leave at 8:30. And I reached home 7:15, 20. And as soon as I came, at the class also, I was doing my work and I was listening to the class. And he did not turn up. I had thought that he's always doing like this. It's nothing new. But you know, I was doing it. There wasn't much of malice in me. I was doing okay. I knew he will not turn up. So I was making all the food and everything. And as soon as almost I finished my work, and I like my mother-in-law, she's told my husband that Prem is here. So they called up, like his name is Prem. So he called him that. So I told her, like, he came to the kitchen and he went away. So seeing me that I am doing my work, and he's asking what is to be done. So I was so amazed that I kept quiet. I did not lose my patience. And then she's saying that he's here, he's calling him up. Now, none of them is saying anything to that person. And I was so, at that time, I was so hurt that, like, I am sacrificing my class, which is so dear to me. I did not eat much after coming to exercise, and I am making the food, but still, nobody is there's no difference for them. Only thing is that I know I take the responsibility that it should be done on time and he should leave on time. So I am taking the responsibility and I am doing. But they are not saying a word to him. Why are you coming late? Why did you feel so bad that ultimately what thought I had, that it was a negative thought, that next time, if the time demands, I would be absent from the situation. I'll not be there. I don't know what it is like. In the end, that thing made my heart very, like, I'm so much in malice now. That's why I came to my room and I just wanted to participate in this Manana, because what we are reading, what we are imbibing, and how difficult is to handle these situations when in practical life it comes to you. So literally, I'm very hurt today. That's all I wanted to say.
So Krishna is speaking to you today.
He's always taking exams of me. He's always taking these practical exams of me. Yeah. And I try hard to...
If you remember, Swamiji mentioned something. It is only, staying aloof is not going to help. Because the only way we can put all this into practice is by being with people, among people. And this is exactly what happened to you today. If you had not gone there into the kitchen and not been there, I think it was a play of emotions happening to you, because what you expected to happen did not happen. What you expected your other people, family members, to respond to the situation did not happen. So you were upset. So that means there was someone within the group that made you unhappy. So going back in learning what we've learned today, with respect to a jnani, there is nobody who can make him unhappy. He is happy with himself, isn't it? He doesn't depend on situations for his happiness. But for you, I know the Manana session is so dear to you. So for you, it was like because you were kept out of your Manana, you were feeling unhappy. And that gave you that train of thought and feeling of malice, and everything happened, isn't it? I mean, I'm not sure whether this
is like the class also, besides, that nobody, when he does some fault, nobody pinpoints it. That is everyone wants to be in good books. It is only what, like, I see something which is missing or is not correct. I only point it out. Every time it is happening this way. And, I become the villain part. Though I never, without any reason, I never say, and I never say in a bad fashion. I always try to say in a polite way, or I will keep quiet. I don't take out bad words from my mouth, but it keeps on happening. So sometimes it is so, you don't know what to do. Next time, what should I do? I don't know. Like, the things, they happen in this manner. Like, I am devoting whole my time. I am
taking the responsibility. I'm seeing that the food is made. He leaves on time. I even washed the puja room also. Like, it was happening so fast, in a fast fashion. And I was thinking, like, my mind was in three places. So and after that, when you see that nobody is recognizing, I don't want to be recognized. Rather, I wanted them to, at least they should say that he is at fault. Otherwise, he'll not improve himself. He thinks she's the only one who keeps on complaining. These people, they don't say anything. This is the main problem of my house. This is the only one point of my life which disturbs my this. Otherwise, I have no differences with anyone. It is only this, his attitude makes me disturbed many a times, and I don't want to be in that. This is a
I
very,
think
like,
everybody,
perplexing situation for me.
I know,
So I
can
just want to
understand your situation.
yeah,
I'm so
yeah.
happy that you're sharing all of this, Dr. Savita. Really appreciate that. See, I think somewhere earlier in the earlier chapters, we learned that everybody behaves in such a way. We are also not in control of our behavior. Based on our prakriti, we are behaving based on the combination of sattva, rajas, tamo gunas. So probably that's how everybody is in your family and in this particular person that you're talking about. So I mean, I don't know, but I think these two things might help. One is to accept the situation and passively, I mean, not like passive acceptance. You, of course, point it out. Doesn't matter if you're the only one doing it. And the second one is not to see an intention, no, behind their mistake. That might help. And then the third is to come from the space of what a jnani will be. And what you're doing is perfect. I mean, you were just doing your swakarma there. In the 18th chapter, I think there is this beautiful stanza which says, Swakarmana tamadhyarcha siddhim vindati manava. So you were doing your duty as a karma yogi, but then there, instead of getting the I notion and saying, oh, I am the only one doing it, I am the only one having to fill in the gap, drop that and say, I'm doing this for Ishvara. I'm doing this for Ishvara's sake. And whatever result will come, I'm going to accept it. If I'm the only one pointing out, I'm the only one calling out, so be it. Doesn't matter what others think, doesn't matter. You're doing it from that space of wanting to make a difference, isn't it? Then when that doership drops, then you'll feel that release, you feel that freedom. And doesn't matter. See, if you're, for instance, sitting in front of the computer or the mobile and giving full attention to the Manana class is the most ideal. But supposing you have to prioritize something else, you still don't want to miss the Manana class. You still have an option of doing it otherwise, isn't it? Kartum shakyam, akartum shakyam, anyatha va kartum shakyam. So plug yourself with the earpods, something. Continue working. Of course, it's not the best, it's not the most ideal, but you're still with that knowledge and you're continuing to do your work, isn't it? So I think,
Yeah.
I mean, thank you for sharing this, because unless we apply this knowledge in our day-to-day life, it's only going to be a conceptual knowledge. We have to apply it in our day-to-day life. I was actually, when I know we're going past Manana time, I was relating to all that is happening in my hospital right now. For instance, there is one of my colleagues who's a little defiant, stubborn, and is a difficult to handle person. So I was just thinking, when Swamiji was talking of being friendly and talking of Adveshta, I don't have any hatred towards her, I have only compassion towards her. But it does make me a little unhappy within, because you expect that everybody, you're friendly, you want everybody else also to be friendly, but that's not how the world is. Everybody has this bag of problems, has this bag of combinations of sattva, rajas, tamogunas, the samskaras. So we don't know how they behave, what they behave. So we cannot predict others' behavior. So what you can do, you cannot change others, but what you can do is to change yourself, change from within. You remain full and complete, no matter what. So when you come from that space, nothing can shake you, isn't it? So I was thinking I should practice this. Today is the first day I'll be going back after my after vacation. By the way, Nana and Amma are here for they'll be here for a couple of months, 3 months at least. So next time, whenever possible, after we finish chapter 12, Nana will come on. Except that it will be a little too early for him, but we'll see how we can manage. So today will be my first day, and I'm preparing myself. I said, how is my attitude going to be towards this colleague of mine? I'm going to have that friendly attitude within, and not have that aloofness. Beautiful pearls today in today's learning. I think we need to repeat this. This one shloka can be such a beacon of light for all of us.
Thank you, Dr. Brahmra.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll remember this episode always, and next time I had to calm myself more. Yeah.
With our life situations are like laboratories for us, no? It's so easy for us to speak. For me, it is easy to give you these indications, but probably when I'm in such a situation, I might just, have the same feelings and thoughts, emotions like you're having. But unless we keep reminding ourselves, again, that is the abhyasa that we do.
Just one small example I want to share here, Dr. Brahmra. It's about on the Konkan belt. We had an intro talk, and after that we had a course with school teachers and the principal, vice principal. Now, vice principal was on the course, and she shared she had that feeling in her that everything was being dumped on her by the principal. A lot of work which she should have done herself was being dumped on her. So there was a slight amount of issue between the two. Not an issue, but she had a grudge against the principal, whatever. And then slowly, one day, what happened was the principal came and said that, look, I have been given this task, and I have, like, how today Belaji had some Shraddh problem and she had to do the cooking. Like that, the principal had to be in her house for some ceremony that was to be performed. And she says, I know this task is mine, but can you do it for me? The way she requested it, this vice principal had done the course by that time. She did not see any this thing intention behind that person giving away the task to her. She cordially accepted the task and did it. And when she cordially accepted, these two are now best of friends, and they are helping each other in sharing the tasks that are given to them. So when we drop that attitude of seeing intention behind somebody, there must be so much of stress in that person's this thing that she's being negative towards you in spite of your good attitude. What is it that is troubling her that she's coming out with this? What amount of ignorance that she has, she's not in knowledge. So probably looking at it from that kind of a dimension would help you in dealing with her in a better manner. Uh, and another thing where, as far as the Shraddh situation is concerned, there also like, Guruji says, बॉम्बे के लोग चालू है तो बॉम्बे की चाल देखो कश्मीर के गाल देखो साउथ इंडियन के बाल देखो like that he has commented on it Gurudev himself. So like we are, some people are chalu by nature, like they will not come early, they will not do the task as required, and they'll take the credit away from you also. This happens even in the corporate world. So many times your bosses take away the credit and you have made the presentation. You have presented everything. All the statistical data has been taken out by you. But so what? You have to take it in your stride. This is the way the world is. Also, not passive acceptance, but active acceptance. How can you best resolve the situation? Then also you need to see how best you can resolve the situation. Jai Gurudev.
Thank you, Pasiji. It was literally my exam today. exam of life. And I failed.
No,
No,
there is no failure. It's just
that
awareness
was
has
I
dawned
was
on
just
you.
yeah. I
Awareness
was
has
just
dawned on
about to I was just about to mention this. Don't feel bad. Don't feel let down. This is where you have to remember Uddhared Atmanatmanam Natmanam Avasadaya. It is the nature of the mind. You're not the mind. You're beyond that, isn't it? So when you know the Atma Anatma difference, and you know that you're Atma, and this is all the play of the Anatma, you only smile at yourself. Oh, this happened. And then you just become more cautious next time, isn't
Yeah.
it? It is all about handling our mind.
See, even in the Tata group, when JRD Tata was the helm of affairs, at that time the management process was make each individual a profit center. So if it was Tata Hotels, or it was Tata Chemicals, or it was Tata Motors, or Tata Iron and Steel, every individual who ran, who was the director of that company, had to give a certain amount of profit margin over the last year, in the prevailing year. And if that was happening, GRD would get the results, and then this stock market, this thing, whatever meetings are held, annual general meetings and all, he would address it with the memo coming to him as to what has been the growth and how the shareholders had been having that good share coming from the profits of that company. That was his style of dealing with it. There were a lot of indication that, like when Indian hotels went up, Kekar was who was helming the affairs over there, was making a lot of money when the new hotels were coming up in construction and all that, as his brokerage charges or whatever that he was taking from it. GRD had no grudge against it so long as every profit center was giving him better business. The percentage, the margin of profit was increasing over last year. He ignored it, he turned a blind eye to it. That was his way of doing it. Ratan Tata wanted to bring everything into Tata Sons. So he wanted to be the center again. So he hired people who were management graduates, who were from IIT IIM, who had to go to different locations, and they would give their opinion as to how this could become better in profitability with new technological updates being put into place. And that is how all these old stalwarts left one by one because of their egos. And he brought in newer people, and they are running the show more successfully, and the profits are higher now than what they were at Tata Sons. Neither was JRD wrong, nor was Ratan Tata wrong in the way they are managing their institutes. Those people were all over 60. Their grace period was already over. Superannuation had taken place, whatever. And then they left on their own accord because they're big egos. They wanted to do everything my way or the highway. So this was all again brought into control and whatever. So these are various different dimensions from which we can look at ourselves in active acceptance and passive acceptance. What kind of corrective action we can take? Again, look at it. Is our ego coming into play also? Is my ego hurt that I am doing everything? Is my family looking upon me? I am the superpower in this house. Like I think I am the superpower or the superwoman or something like that. My ego is too big and therefore I am suffering. Is this the way they are looking at it? What can I do? How can I make a difference? Where do I need to change in this? Every time that I've grown right through my corporate career till now is where am I at fault in this? Always looking at that. Where am I at fault in this? Today's also all the stanzas that came out, all the mantras that were chanted, it was giving a lot of love and compassion. And I went back to the days when I didn't have this knowledge, when I was dealing with terrorists who had killed 25 to 30 people each. And yet, the only thing that came out only by way of my own experience, or I don't know, I don't have that kind of knowledge or wisdom with me at that time. But it was, I just gave them love and compassion. I never sat in judgment. I never had a prior attitude. Okay, these are all rascals who had killed 25 to 30 people. I never thought of that in that manner, neither with jail inmates nor with terrorists. And probably giving that love and compassion to those people, what could be worse than killing 25 to 30 people on an average each? Everyone of them deserved a life sentence, which is the highest, or hang until death. But under the government project, we brought them here and there was a transformation amongst them. So love and compassion, love really moves the world. And we need to love ourselves also in this. Like, okay, we did a super job today. We did a two-in-one thing. We listened to the Manana and we listened to this. I take my mobile because I find those earbuds that I put in, sometimes the volume goes up, sometimes the volume is not proper. So I put my mobile on two glasses in the kitchen. And if my wife has gone to the toilet or something, I simply start cleaning up the utensils, but my mind is all on the Manana. I know it's not a very correct thing to do, but I want to do as much seva as I can willingly, not coming from somebody uh, goading me into doing that, like a buffalo being prodded into action. It's just that it comes so willingly to me that she is also over 70, and as much of seva that I can render in the house, I must do it. Probably my way of looking at things is quite different. There's so much of stuff had come out today. I thought I'll share this with the group today. Jai Gurudev.
Thank you so much, Percy and Dr. Brahmara. It was I am at peace now. I have so much of solace. Yeah.
Since so
And
much of sharing has happened,
all of us have learned, isn't it? That is the whole point of Manana.
Jai Gurudev, quickly I would share my experience as well. Few months back, I was taking care of my mother who was not well. And similarly, I had this conflict that I'm unable to attend to her if I'm attending the Manana class. So that conflict was there, little bit of, irritation was there. See, I can't do this and all. But then I just thought, like, what is the use if I'm attending to Manana and if my mind is not at peace? That is not serving the purpose. I can always go back and listen to the recording. It doesn't have to be at that time. And then it became like, yes, I can do this. And one more thing, like I was feeling that I am doing quite a lot for her than my siblings. And again, that started giving me so much of heartburn, like why I only should be doing, or few things they could not understand why I am doing this way, because there was COVID, a lot of COVID patients around, and she was to be in the hospital. People would come, and then I would tell them, like, you need to put a mask, or even the family members, I had to repeatedly tell them. But and then I had this feeling like I have been getting a bad name, like I'm little fussy. And then, but in that situation, I was taking care of my mother who was not well, and she wouldn't have taken any more of illnesses. But then repeatedly telling people, like, they should follow these things, like they have to be wearing masks. And exactly something similar situation I was in, like, why I should be the bad person? Why can't others do this work? And then I said, because you have, uh, that this has to be done, and you take that lead and tell people. For that, you have to be strong enough. People may not don't want any bad name to do something right. Uh, but I kept doing that, and I'm happy I did that. People, I had to write to them personally messages saying that this is the reason I'm doing. Uh, Again, I tried to explain, and it was up to them whether to take it in which stride. So I think keeping your mind at peace at any situation is more important than doing that work or not. This is a lesson what I learned. And yes, I went through the practical lessons then also. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Renal. Really appreciate. And I think this is what each one of us should also do, share our lives so that not only we learn, we have some input from our forefathers so that next time such a situation happens, we know exactly, or we know how we need to deal with our mind. And then through that one example, a lot of us learn. So that's wonderful. We'll close Manana today and we'll continue tomorrow. I think we'll do this verse once more tomorrow. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Guru Dev.